Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. So I'm in my, we'll call them farm fresh clothes because Dad and I have been unloading the trailer, and then we are going to head into town and get another load from the shop. So I'm super excited about that. To be making progress is awesome. I wish it was just a little bit warmer out. I mean, it's crazy that when 50 sounds warm and then it feels cold, I think mainly because of the wind, then that's never fun. But it's better than 30 degrees or 20 degrees, right? So I'm excited to be getting some things moved. Hopping on here to talk about my Staging Your Antique Shop group and to answer any questions that you have about the group. So I started the group January of 2019, and the reason that I started the group was because back when I started, which I can never remember when I even started, but I think it was 2012, there was like no information. Like, yes, I could Google or look on Pinterest for a few things about setting up at a craft fair, but there was no information about setting up at an antique show. And setting up at an antique show is different than setting up at a craft show. So I would read information about the craft show and then learn kind of as I went and talk to a lot of dealers. And then after I had been selling in booths, having barn sales, setting up at shows, and really doing all of it by myself. So I would load a 12-foot long trailer, unload it, do all of that by myself for most of my shows and setting up the booth. And just as I did that, I would make sure and pick people's brains about anything and everything that I had questions about, because I am super competitive and I wanted to succeed. So when I first started selling junk, I was also teaching. And basically, I had to be able to show my husband that I could make money selling antiques in order for him to let me quit my teaching job. And so being very competitive and wanting to try a different career, I wanted to learn as much information as I could. So did all of that, and then let's see, it's probably 2 years ago, I got exposed to my current business coach. And it was just by chance. Another dealer that I knew shared a post by my coach, and I was just like, what? People have business coaches? Like a small business. We live in a town of 5,000. Small businesses have business coaches. I mean, mind blown. I mean, my mouth probably hit the floor because I was like, I can't believe it. And so I did not think about it very long because I'm the person who will overthink things. And I knew that if I thought about it too long, I would talk myself out of investing in myself and joining her group. So I just decided it was a Christmas present to myself. I signed up for her group, and now I've been in it 2 years, or this is my second year. And I'm so thankful that I did, because it kind of goes along with the saying, like, you don't know what you don't know. And there was a lot of things that I didn't know. And they were things that I don't think other antique dealers realized either, because you have to think about being an antique dealer now versus 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's a completely different ballgame. Facebook, Instagram, I was really slow to jump on the bandwagon. My husband had a Facebook account before I did. And then I started like hijacking his, and then he's finally got annoyed with me and is like, Brooke, get your own Facebook page. So I didn't have a Facebook page for a long time. So if you think about literally just social media, or Pinterest, if you count Pinterest as a social media, being a dealer has just changed so much. So even seasoned antique dealers, I don't think totally understand, if they're not continuing to learn as they go, they don't understand how to be successful in today's world as an antique dealer. So I credit a lot of what I have learned to my business coach, and she does not specialize in antique dealers. It's just kind of in general creative businesses. So again, I took the information that she gave and I tweaked it for an antique dealer. And then I applied the stuff and I did it, because it's like I tell the girls in my group all of the time, I can be giving you wonderful information, but if you don't use it, then it's doing you no good. Or if you soak up all of this information and never actually implement any of it because you don't think you have time, you're scared of doing something, whatever the reasons are, then the group is not going to be as beneficial to you, because having knowledge is great, but it only is great if you are actually going to implement it. So that's one thing that I have just always done. And I don't know why, but I haven't been scared to try new things. So, and the things don't always go well. For example, if you tried to sign up yesterday for the group and you were wanting to use Stripe instead of PayPal, well, guess what? My Stripe was not working. So there are always issues and technical things and things that you want to go smoothly that don't go smoothly, and you just have to roll with it. You just have to try, because I think about, okay, what if I hadn't started this group a year ago? I would still probably be thinking about it. Well, I don't know. What if happens this, and what if this, and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm so thankful that I just went ahead and started it, because you can figure out how all the payments and different, technical things are going to work as you go. So with the staging group, I started it really because when I started, I felt there was no information out there. And I have done all of this learning and implementing, and I want you to be successful faster. I know what you need to do, or I know things that are going to help you accelerate your business and your growth and help you make more money. And I want you to invest in yourself, because that's really what it comes down to. You invest this, which is $47.99 a month, in yourself, and you are going to make more money. It's going to pay for itself, okay? That's the whole idea. Now, if you don't implement anything that I tell you, then no, you're probably not going to make any more money. But if you implement the things that I tell you, it is going to help increase your sales. So that's why I started the group. How the group works is it's in Facebook. So it's a closed group. Once you have paid and bought your membership, then you are asked to join the group. A girl, I put her in the group last night when I got home, and she said she stayed up way too late binge watching all of the videos. Not all of them, but too many of them, because she stayed up way too late, she said. But she said it was great for her because she's a visual learner, and I do things, show you how to do things, and verbally tell you. And so she said that was very helpful for her. So when you get in the group, then you can go back and you have access to every previous video, every previous lesson. So sometimes there's 4 Wednesdays in a month, sometimes there's 5 Wednesdays in a month, and so you have 80 or so videos that you can go back and watch and learn. You don't have to go back and watch those, because I know sometimes people feel a little bit overwhelmed if they have too much information. So initially you can just be like, okay, Brooke does a lesson on Wednesday. I'm going to watch on Wednesday. I'm going to implement what she's talking about for that week, and then I'll watch the next one. And then, you're homesick with the flu and you can't do anything else besides be on your phone, then you can binge watch some, or whatever works into your schedule and into your life. And you don't have to watch them live. So I do go live on Wednesdays at noon, or I at least have it posted on Wednesday at noon if it's pre-recorded. And you can watch it that day, or you can watch it the next day, or that weekend, or whatever works into your schedule. I know for me that if I don't watch live for myself, then I make sure and schedule a time to watch that so that I'm always watching the week that it's happening. I'm not getting behind, because again, that makes people feel overwhelmed when they feel like they're behind, and it increases your stress level. And we don't want this to increase your stress level. So in the group, there will be a post for March, since it's March, and it'll say, here are the Wednesdays, and here are the topics that we are going to discuss each Wednesday. And so that is how it is for every month. So you can go back to March of 2019, and you can see the 4 or 5 topics that were discussed that month. And so then that way you can click and watch a video and pick out the topics that are most important to you at the time. So if you are looking at doing Facebook Live sales, or you're looking at figuring out how to actually ship, because that is a question I get asked all of the time, then you can go and you can find the shipping topic and you can watch the shipping topic. And actually this month we have another one talking about Facebook Lives and shipping stuff again. And so you can watch that one as well. So you can pick and choose what information pertains to you. Basically, I'll do a lesson on a topic, and then I finish that lesson with staging. So you got about 30 minutes of maybe me talking about how do I figure out what is trending, what's selling. I go through and I tell you my tips and tricks on what is selling and how I figure that out. And then the next 30 minutes, I will go through and I will stage something. Maybe it's just like, okay, we have this cabinet, it's emptied off. I'm going to walk you through staging it for your shop or your booth or your event. That is all pretty much the same. And I walk you through why I do what I do. And I basically tell you some guidelines so that you can do the same thing. So, okay, well, Brooke says I need to think about this, this, and this. And so you are thinking about those things as you are placing your items. And so that's kind of how that part is set up. And then if you ever need to cancel, money's tight, you feel like you've binge watched a year's worth of content and you have a lot of things to implement, so you don't want to learn anything else, then you can just cancel your membership and you log in and you do that, and then you'll finish up whatever your 30 days that are paid, and then I kick you out of the group. Okay, so it works very easy. So you can do that at any time. You're not stuck in there for a whole year by any means. So those are probably the biggest questions that I've gotten this week, because know that next week you can't be like, oh, darn it, I was going to sign up for Brooke's group, or oh, darn it, I forgot about it, or you were on the fence this week and next week you decided you wanted to take the plunge. Well, it's too late. Saturday is literally the last day that you can sign up this year. And then I'm going to focus on the girls that are in the group and helping them be as successful as they can. I had 2 girls this year open up a brick and mortar. And so I know that it has been very valuable to a lot of the girls in the group, and a lot of the girls, or not a lot, there's a couple girls in the group, I'm still trying to give them some pushes to show their face, and showing your face is very important, and we talk about why in that as well. So does anybody have any questions that's watching? I see a lot of you are watching, so I appreciate that. But if you have any questions, this is the time to ask, because, I think of it from my teaching days, if you have the question, chances are somebody is wondering that same exact thing. So another question that I've gotten, actually that just popped into my head is this a good group for just a small business? And I would say yes and no. We really focus on antiques. So it kind of depends on what your business is. So if you have a floral shop and you arrange home decor and gift items, like my friend Amy, then I think that it would be a good group for you, because all those things that we're talking about with staging and building relationships with your customers, getting people into your brick and mortar, content for your social media, even shipping, how that goes about, and invoicing people. Those are things that are going to pertain to any little shop. And we talk about floor plans. So now that I'm doing the barn, I'm setting up a whole course, a whole specific topic on laying out your floor plan, which I've done before, but it's a little bit different when I already have a majority of my big pieces in place, where this way you can see what it looks like from scratch and how I go about figuring out where I'm going to put what. Because when you first open a store, or you first get a booth up at Brass Armadillo, and you have a 6x8 space, or you're setting up at a show and you got to fill a 10x20 booth, you need to be able to wrap your head around a game plan and how to make that be very efficient. Because being an antique dealer is a lot different in a sense than a retail shop, because we don't just sit down at a catalog and order product. We have to go find it, clean it, price it, stage it, haul it, repair it, whatever it needs to be done to it, and then we have to stage that in a way that is going to make a customer be like, oh, this would look good in my house, because chances are it's something that is repurposed or out of the box kind of thinking. And so being an antique dealer is kind of its own little world. So Katie said, are you able to rejoin if you end up skipping a month here and there? So no, Katie. Once you're in the group until you decide that you want to cancel. And then if you cancel, you'll have to wait until next year when we have another sign up. So yeah. Brenda, will you be teaching, focusing on doing shows as part of content? I do. I have a couple of lessons in there now, and I have like a PDF checklist on things that you need to fill your trailer, take into consideration when you're going to events. And with the topics, like if you have a specific question, you can always put it into the chat box in the group, and I can answer that question. And then also, if it's something that I feel like we really need to spend more time talking about, like there's more information to include in that, then I'll do a specific lesson on that as well. So that kind of gives me an idea, and I send out emails too, just saying like, hey, what are some of the topics that you want me to cover more, that maybe I have done a few lessons on, but you want to know even more about. And so then you can kind of give your feedback that way, so that the group is what you need. So yes, we definitely talk about events. I am mixing old and new. Is there something I would benefit from on Itty Ends? So Katie, it probably auto-corrected, and I'm not exactly sure what the question is, but yes, I would say as an antique dealer, there are very few shops that are 100% antiques. I think that the trend is a mix of old and new, probably because that is how people decorate. I mean, there's very few homes where you go in there and literally they don't have anything new. I mean, definitely, couches and upholstered furniture, I would say, is new a lot of times. Even like furniture that you sit in, chairs and stuff, because some of the antique chairs have, had a good life. And so people decorate with old and new things. And so a lot of shops do old and new. So we don't talk about necessarily purchasing new items, but we do talk about adding florals and greenery. So we talk about what wholesale shops we use to get some of those supplies. And then also, like, I have new stuff in my shop as well. And so just talking about what companies we have looked at or we have used that we have liked. And so everybody kind of gives their feedback on that as well. But I would say we've talked the most about when it comes to new items, just greenery and filler, things to make your shop look more finished and polished. So those are great questions. Anybody else have anything that they are interested in knowing about with the Staging Your Antique Shop group? So, my biggest thing is you don't want to wait. Like if you are debating it, because if you are debating it, you're going to have to wait a whole nother year. And that's just something that I started last year. After, a while, initially we did it a little bit differently, but that way the girls are in the group and we can really focus on what the girls that are in the group need. So like if Brenda, if you're really focusing on events, then we can spend a lot more time on events if that's a theme in the group. And so I would say most of the girls in the group right now have booths. So then we've got a couple of girls who just open their own brick and mortar. One of them is a traditional brick and mortar. One of them is an occasional shop. We've got one girl that she is, what would you call it? The manager of like not an antique, like an antique mall, a shop that has multiple vendors in it. So she went from just being a vendor to running the whole space. And so we talk about that, like, what do you charge? If you set up at a show, Brenda, this would be some good information. If you set up at a show, how much inventory should you be bringing? How much inventory you bring dictate how much income you're going to be making or what your sales are going to be? Because all of that plays to each other. So it's kind of like on my website right now, there's not a whole lot of inventory on there because I just haven't had time to get it up there. So what I make per month off of my e-commerce store is going to be directly impacted by how much merchandise is on there. So we talk about a lot of things like that. And we are talking about e-commerce as well. As I get more experience in that, talking about just kind of learning. We talk a lot about having a virtual assistant, hiring help. Like a lot of us are control freaks and we want to do everything ourselves, but there comes a time where you need to work on your business, not in your business. So if you're always the one that's cleaning and painting and pricing and doing all of that stuff, then you can't focus on the aspects of growing your business. And so we talk a lot about that. You have booths and do several shows. Yes, exactly, Brenda. It is a hard job. I think I went from doing 10 shows a year to now I do 0. But it's one of those things that you got to go where the customers are. And if you do antique shows, then people that go to antique shows, they do like antiques, right? So hopefully they become good buyers then. But talking about getting people on your email list, so that's something you should be doing at all of those shows. And in your booth as well. You should have a bunch of marketing material in your booth, even though you're not physically there. They're going to go to the counter to check out, but you still need to market and advertise yourself for your booth space in that antique mall or shop too. So, all right, well, if I don't see any questions pop up here, I will drop the link to sign up here in the group. And if you would share this, even if you are not an antique dealer, I would be forever grateful. It's one of those things that Facebook's a logarithm. It just shows people based off of how much interaction and engagement you get on a post. So by liking, commenting, sharing on my stuff and on anybody's stuff that you follow, especially a small business, that's very, very important to help them get seen by more people. So if you would do that, I would be very grateful. But I'll drop the link for the group in here, and just remember that tomorrow, Saturday, it's March 7th, is the last day to sign up, and I would love to have you join. So thanks, guys.